There probably was a problem in the post office.
All right, well, the Young Turks, the day after the election, Jake Huger, Ben Mankiewicz, the election that was disastrous. Nonetheless, I'm in a good mood. It might be because I've had too much coffee this morning, or it might be that I'm just eternally optimistic.
Do you have a coffee crash later coming then?
Sometimes it happens. I'm hoping it happens on the flight.
You're flying to New York. You're going to be in New York for the next couple of years.
We'll see.
But all month, right?
Yeah, all month, November. Look, here's what's interesting about that, okay, for all you TYT listeners out there, which would be all of you, because you're watching right now. I'm going to try to talk about the things we talked about last night, the things we'll say today in terms of messaging from this election on national television. I hope that helps a little bit, right? And we're going to talk about the Blue Dogs got their ass kicked. We're going to talk about that today a little bit. We're going to try to talk about it at 3 o'clock Eastern tomorrow on MSNBC. And then Friday, man, all the barrels are loaded. I'm coming Phil Davison style, filling in for Radigan and Schultz. That's 4 and 6 p.m. on MSNBC. And I'm going to hit them, and I'm going to keep on hitting them. And we're going to talk about how the Democrats were too timid, and they got their ass handed to them because they didn't really fight. Now, if some weak-ass Washington establishment guy wants to come on there and say, oh, no, they fought the Republicans too much, let's have at it, Hoss, okay? Bring it on, because the country needs to hear the message that the Democrats did not do nearly enough, and that's why they lost. That is my opinion. I think that's the opinion of a lot of our viewers, and that's what we're going to bring to MSNBC.
If I could contribute anything to the thought process of people, and this is important, that is why it may be the principal reason why they lost, and even if it's not a principal reason why they lost, it's a principal problem that needs to be addressed. But there isn't one reason why they lost. There never is. These are complicated. The economy is horrible. An inevitability of the way the world was going, not just here in the United States, but principal blame, although irrelevant now, the policies of the Bush administration, and then the economy tanked. It was unrecoverable in this short period of time, and a beating was without doubt coming. I think if you had made a proper case to voters, then that includes a lot of what you say, then you would have tempered the viciousness of last night's defeat.
All right. Now, I totally agree with Ben. When the economy is bad, the incumbents lose. That's a fact, and that's not something that should be overlooked. And obviously, that's a huge, huge factor, right? Having said that, what might have helped, for example, over the last 2 years is every day when the Republicans did this every day. They fought every day, right? And they said, oh, reckless spending, deficit spending, record spending by Obama. Every day, Obama should have countered with, Bush left me a $1.2 trillion deficit. Bush left me a $1.2 trillion deficit. Republicans left me a $1.2 trillion deficit. He should have come out and said, hey, Republicans, I'd like to ask you, why were you so irresponsible and you left me a $1.2 trillion deficit? Until somebody said, stop, I got it. The Republicans were so reckless, they left you a $1.2 trillion deficit. When you came into office, you were losing 700,000 jobs a month because of Bush and because of the Republicans. He should have repeated it until people were like, I got it. The Republicans are the worst of the worst. Please stop saying it.
And because I don't think that what the advice that you give is frequently belligerent, which I don't think works, but there's you could meet with reasonable people and there could be a debate of how to drive that point home while seeming like you're above it all, which is what the Democrats, they're only care about the second part.
Yeah, and by the way, why are you above it all?
Yeah,
you see, look, the Republicans got in the mud and they wrestled that in there, and it turns out being above it all is a terrible political strategy.
All you have to do is you can say George Bush and the Republicans left me with a 1.3.
I think it was 1.2.
You left me with a $1.2 trillion deficit, and now you have the audacity to blame that on me. What do you want me to do? What do you expect us to do? Because I'll listen to you. You tell me, go on the national tell me what you want to do.
Tell me how you want to help fix your screw-up, okay?
Right.
Tell me about how you drove into this ditch and you plan to get out in any way other than keep going forward with your dumbass plans.
Yeah.
Okay, there's my belligerence.
Right,
okay?
but I mean,
leave out the dumbass. Okay?
That's part of it. It's, you've committed a crime, you've robbed the bank, and now you're saying to the bank, how dare you, you haven't put our money back. Well, the bank is saying to you, if you got an idea for how to get the money back, I'll hear it. But don't just sit there and tell me that I have to put the money back when you stole the money.
Right. And look, some people will say, hey, wait, but didn't Obama say that in the last 2 months?
Yeah.
That's the problem. He said it in the last 2 months, whereas they laid the groundwork, the Republicans did, to the point where Washington media accepted it. And that's all you ever heard. The media churned that out day after day after day. And look, the president has the bully pulpit. And Bush used that effectively, believe it or not. He got incredibly unpopular things through Congress and started unpopular wars because he knew how to use the bully pulpit. And Obama apparently does not understand that concept because he's obsessed with being above it all.
Right, and I've been something that I want to change my mind on a little, or at least how it's structured, because as far as getting the message out, it is much easier for the Republicans because the message is simple: be afraid, take your money, keep your money, and stop spending the money, without any discussion of how we're going to do that. Because when they get into discussions, voters are like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, that's what's going to happen over the next 2 years.
And, of course, they just ignore that when they say keep your money, who they're really giving the money to is not you, right? It's Wall Street, and corporate America. Frequently, you can just save your money, move your jobs offshore, and we'll give you and then we can't even bring that up. So our point is much more complicated about how we needed to get out of Iraq because the problems there between Shiites, Sunnis, and Kurds, and the various differences of groups inside those are too complicated for us to solve. Similar problems, not specifically with different kinds of Muslims, true in Afghanistan. A complicated process to say it's unwinnable. How to fix Wall Street and derivatives reform. That's just one of the enormous problems with it. And why a stimulus is necessary. They say, stimulus spends money, we need money, you spend it. And we're like, no, every economist in the country we have to spend our way out of this. It's complicated. So we got it. It's complicated, but that's not an excuse.
Right. And by the way, you know what's not complicated? Wall Street did it. Okay. You want to see how bad the messaging was?
Yeah.
Okay. So there was some exit polling done, and when they asked people, who do you think is most responsible for the economy crashing? Number 1 on the list was Wall Street. Number 2 on the list was Republicans. Number 3 on the list was Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, here's the maddening part. Of the people who thought the banks caused the crisis, and they were right, by an 11% margin, they thought the Republicans had the better answer. Oh, no. Oh, come on. When I saw that, I was like, no, the Democrats suck at messaging.
Right, so
they
you could
suck. Because the Republican Party, they love the banks. We literally have news stories of John Boehner and Eric Cantor and John Cornyn going up to Wall Street, having lunch with Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan and the other top bankers in the country and saying, what can we do for you? Help us help you. And then they go and fight the reform that would have checked the big banks from taking risks with your money. I mean, they couldn't help the big banks more, and a plurality of the country, more people in this country think the Republicans would fight the big banks rather than the Democrats?
Yeah,
no, the Democrats suck.
Yeah, that's and Jane Hampshire said last night that it's so. I mean, a populist message works, and the notion that you let them phrase it and frame it to suggest that if you don't go to Wall Street and suck up to J.P. Morgan, that you jeopardize the banks. The banks aren't going anywhere, for crying out loud.
I would love to jeopardize the banks.
Yeah, and by the way, we just learned that they don't go anywhere. So it is. It's frustrating, it is messaging, and it's not. It is a cop-out to suggest that it's too complicated. It is complicated, and we're much more complicated in our messaging. But there are smart people here. So get a hold of the smart people and learn how to simplify it. And by the way, a simple message in this campaign was Wall Street did it, and I'm going to hammer them.
Right. But instead, what was Obama doing? Even in the last 2 months, he was apologizing to the bankers. You remember when one of the bankers came out and they said, we feel like put upon. And there was all those articles in the Washington Post and et cetera saying about, Obama's not business friendly enough. And what did Obama do? The White House sent out a message. No, we're business friendly. No, don't get us wrong. No, we're going to be kind to business. No. It's not. Look.
Also, hang on real quick, because there's a way because you don't want to say you're not business friendly, but you can say just right there. At least discuss the possibility of saying you feel put upon. Let me tell you who feels put upon. Everybody making less than $100,000 a year, and mostly people making less than $40,000 a year. Let me tell you something. I'm not bank friendly right now. I'm not Wall Street friendly. I'm business friendly, and business is going to save us. but not you guys.
Right, and make a distinction. How easy is it, okay, to say, I'm in favor of small businesses. I'm in favor of real companies like, Microsoft, Intel, et cetera. Name a bunch of companies.
So, name Walmart.
Right,
Yeah.
Walmart, fine, whatever, right? But I'm not in favor of Wall Street, and there's an enormous difference because Wall Street's actually sucking the money out of all those businesses. We gave Wall Street trillions of dollars, and the whole purpose of that was so that they would lend it out, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, but then
What did they do with it? What did they do with it?
Shockingly enough, it turns out they kept it.
Yeah, they just kept it. Yeah.
Okay, weird. But you know what? That goes to an error not just in messaging, and this is important, of course. And this is part of why I get frustrated with the Democrats and part of why they lost last night. Because Obama let them keep it. He was wrong on the substance. He did not say, hey, you know what? If I give you the money, you got to lend it out. Or I'm going to lend it out through a government institution without you being the middleman because I'm backing the money anyway, right? He didn't do any of that. He just said, all right, what do you need? And they just gave it to him like Bush did.
Right, lending has frozen. Well, we'll give you money so you can lend it. And then
you didn't, and then there were no consequences. They still have their yachts. By the way, the top business in the investors and executives in the top, I think, 30 companies in the country made a record $140 billion profit last year. Record.
the top what?
30 companies in the country. Okay, so this whole thing of like, oh, we're all suffering. No, we're not. The people who rigged this system to blow. Love it because they got exactly what they wanted. They don't give a damn about your 10% unemployment. They're getting richer and richer and richer. And if the Democrats don't understand that, well, of course they're going to lose. So, look, and one last thing about the messaging, and although I'm sure we'll talk more and more about it, look, there's a debate now. It is, I wrote something about it last night after the show. Mark Penn, former campaign manager for Hillary Clinton, he wrote something. It's all going back and forth. Of course, the media is siding with that side. So what does Mark Penn write? He says, oh, no, the message from this election is obvious. And you know what he's going to say.
Move to the center.
Yeah, Obama was terribly liberal and should have never done that. And he should have, conceded to the Republicans more. And the lesson to learn here is obviously, just do whatever the Republicans tell you in the next 2 years. I mean, it's revolting.
Who's the guy I called you about last night? John, what's his name?
Avalon.
John Avalon on CNN. I got home last night late, obviously after 11, and walked my poor dog, and then I turned on the TV and want to learn about Washington and Colorado, and everybody's got five guys talking, and they're not listening to each other at all. Which I think we did last night, you, me, and Michael. And
the guest.
And the guest, yeah. I think there was a tremendous amount of listening and learning, and they don't do that at all. But then John Avalon?
Yeah, Avalon.
John Avalon says, he's a bright guy. You've had him on the show, right? He's like, look, this is, and he's the centrist. Like, so no one argues with him, right? So he's not a liberal, he's not the conservative, he's the centrist. So he says, look, it's a center-right country. We've learned that now. And then he just continues with his point, and Anderson Cooper, who's hosting, and none of the guests they have 2 tables of 5 guests. They got like 10 guys there. And none of them challenge him on it. It's just, that's accepted. Okay, it's a center-right country. There's no debating that. Well, I mean, that's it.
Let me do a football analogy for you guys real quick. Okay, look, after a loss like this, obviously, there's always questions as to what went wrong. And in football, for example, they might ask, did they run the ball too much, so were they too conservative? Or did they pass too much, they were too risky, or whatever it might be, right? And there'll always be both sides, no matter what, right? Even if you run the ball 80% of the time, somebody will come out and say, if they just run the ball a little more. Right? Okay.
Right.
And that's where we are today, where we're having a discussion of did we run the ball too much or did we pass too much? And I think we ran the ball a tremendous amount, gaining 1.5 yards at a time. And every once in a while we would brag about how we got a first down as they scored touchdown after touchdown. And then today people come out and say, no, we didn't run enough. We just threw too much. The 3.5 times we threw in the game, it was just too much. And so you got to fight back. Otherwise, what'll happen is this will get set in people's mind. Oh, if we just run the ball 100% of the time,
right?
And you know what? This is a run-centric country,
right?
And you should always run.
Yeah, I like it.
No, you should have a balance. Sometimes you should run, sometimes you should pass.
I like it how we're not even a country that likes to govern from the center. Like, we can't even get that.
Yeah.
Forget about the fact that there's an entirely good possibility that we're slightly to the left of center as a country. I don't even think it's debatable, to be honest, and because nobody knows what left means. But in reality, when you ask people, they're like, oh, no, that sounds good. That makes a lot of sense. So we can't even get that. Although, you know, you make your football analogy, and this isn't an excuse for inaction, but it must be awfully frustrating for Barack Obama and the administration. Like, the notion that they have this happen, they do all they can to work with Republicans. It doesn't work. We lose more than 60 seats in the House. And then guys like Mark Penn, respected pollsters who are going to sort of set they're going to set the they're going to frame the conversation, and it's that you didn't do enough
To reach out.
to reach out. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? What exactly am I supposed to do? And there are answers for what he's supposed to do, but a very human reaction has got to be incredible frustration from people in his own party.
Sure, and he's frustrated at us too, because
Yeah.
he thinks he's got a good balance. You know, he thinks he's doing the right amount of running and passing, and he thinks we're crazy for wanting to pass more.
As long as he, and I'm sure that is frustrating.
Right.
And that would make sense, because I think I think on many issues there's a good faith effort to do closer to the right thing. But what he has to at least recognize, and what they all have to recognize, is that playing it in the middle, or thinking, well, I got some conservative Democrats mad at me and some more progressive Democrats mad at me, so I guess I'm doing the right thing. Because you're not.
Right.
Whatever it is, you're not doing the right thing.
Last note on Mark Penn. You know, that's the same advice, by the way, run to the center, be more like the Republicans, that he gave the last person he was consulting, Hillary Clinton. How'd that work out? Oh, right. Okay, so if I was Barack Obama, I'd tell Mark Penn, tell me how my ass tastes.
Yeah, but the thing is, that was in the primaries, and if Hillary Clinton had been the Democratic nominee, she, unlike Barack Obama, would have defeated John McCain.
Oh, right, so did Obama. And when he ran, as Sirota said last night, on one of the most progressive platforms we've ever seen, it's not that he didn't promise progressiveness. He did, and it's not that that didn't win. It did. It won overwhelmingly. All right, look, we got so much more to cover. Come back in 1 minute here. We're going to give you John Boehner's amusing speech where he takes credit, and then Palladino with the worst concession speech in history.
And also, I have come up with I knew I would, like a way to explain it, a way to feel better about it.
No,
Like, it's not really true, but I figured it out.
All right, come back in 1 minute.
Romantic stuck to my tongue. Way down.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Time to thank some members. We're going to go with member number 2732, Aki Vanyo. Aki, that's cool. April 14th, 2010. And then member number 2738, Edward Basso. So great to have you guys joined up at similar times, obviously. As far as what's happening with the show, tomorrow Ben and I are going to do it together. He's going to be here in LA. I'm going to be in New York. It's going to be 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, okay? And then we'll fill you in on when the show is happening for Friday tomorrow. So just calm down. Also, so tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern, show on MSNBC for me, and then 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, Young Turks with Ben and I. Okay? All right, Anna, go.
All right, Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has been accused of using his political position for private gain. All right? And this private gain includes sexy women. All right, so he's been accused of basically getting a 17-year-old girl off criminal charges for theft in Italy. So she was actually arrested in Milan for allegedly stealing 3,000 euros from a friend. And after she was arrested...
That's her?
That's her. And her name is Karima Kayek.
She's of Moroccan descent.
She is of Moroccan descent. After she was arrested, Berlusconi came to her rescue and told authorities to let her go because she is an Egyptian princess, an Egyptian president's daughter, actually.
Right, Hosni Mubarak's daughter, which is totally not true. He was just interested in her sexually. Okay, she's 17. Now,
she's 18 now, but at that time she was 17.
So it's okay to be turned on by her now because she's 18. But now Berlusconi's 74 years old. Here's the thing, right? You're hooking up with, young woman significantly younger than you did, 24 years old, you're 74. I say have at it, Hoss. More power to you, right? I mean, come on, you're the leader of the country. Just a little older. That's all I'm saying. I mean, bounds of reason, right?
Right.
You're chasing after 17-year-old Moroccan girls. You know, if they were a little older, I could actually rally to his side, right? I could say, hey, you know what? The guy's living life. He's living large, okay? And he's amazing. He does this over and over. There was another 18-year-old that he was a family friend. He went to her birthday party and tried to shtup her.
You said this. How old is he?
He's 74, and at the time that he got her off of the theft charges, she was 17. But it's interesting. I read more articles about this, and he allegedly gave her Valentine's Day when she was 17, gave her 7,000 euros, a diamond necklace, and a car.
No, this guy's a pervy wanker.
No,
come on.
But hold on for 1 second. She claims that they have had no sexual contact whatsoever. She's like, he's like a dad to me. He takes care of me.
Yeah, he's your daddy. Oh, he's definitely your daddy.
You know, I don't know. It's possible that this is all an attempt on his part.
Yes, that's right. We want to be clear. It doesn't mean they did hook up anything. But here's what we know. Berlusconi wants to.
He definitely.
Okay.
Right.
He has no intentions of having, like, just, paternal instincts towards her, just to protect her for her own good. It's just that she happens to be attractive. That's just a wild coincidence. And he happens to like 17 and 18-year-olds in general. That's also a wild coincidence.
Anna, let me ask you. Go ahead.
We got to get to the best part of the story. But sure, ask me the question first.
Is it worse that he's 74, or would it be worse if he were 54?
That's interesting. Why?
Because when he reaches like 74, you're almost like, oh, for the love of God, give him a pass. He's an old man.
No.
Whereas to me, if he were 54, that would actually make me more uncomfortable.
That's interesting, because at 74, you go into my no-holds-barred territory.
Where
you say, you know what, I don't know how many days I got left. Oh, you want to judge me for going after an 18-year-old Moroccan?
Like you'd be like, yeah, all right, what do you want? What do you want from me? Whereas a 54-year-old guy, you're like, come on, that's disgusting. Find somebody your own age.
Are you buying any of this?
No, I'm buying zero of it. I think both are creepy and pervy wankerish. But look, here's what I find interesting about this. With men, it doesn't matter how old they get. They're still turned on by 18-year-olds. Like,
that is interesting.
Can you imagine a 74-year-old woman, or the majority of 74-year-old women, looking at 18-year-old boys and thinking,
Before I might not have imagined it, actually, but with all the teachers who are going after like 16-year-old, 15, 14-year-olds, I think maybe they do, and we just don't realize it. Because there's so many older women who are like, I got to get a 15-year-old boy.
But not 74-year-olds. We hear stories about 34-year-old teachers that are turned on by their 18-year-old students.
Right,
okay.
right.
And we hear,
or 16-year-old students.
And some of the cougar stories of like women 38, 40, not with underage kids, but with kids in their 20s, boys in their 20s.
By the way, can I just jump in for a second? How awesome would it be if Margaret Thatcher was like, got to get a 18-year-old piece of ass?
Yeah, seriously. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I heard on Howard Stern this morning that 35% of women who are dating younger men. Now, it was right before he did an ad for like Cougar.com. But I don't know whether it's true or not. I don't know whether it's true, but let's presume for the purpose of this conversation that it is. That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know any women or many who are dating, but 1/3 of all women dating younger men, unless it's not true. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a growing trend, no question. And they think, why not, right?
Right.
And it makes a great deal of sense, because they realize, here's, I think, the realization that women had at some point, which is very important, that they were like, hey, you know what? It turns out guys will have sex with anybody.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so why am I having sex with 38-year-olds when I can get an 18-year-old hot frat boy from the college down the street, and he'll definitely fuck me?
It's part of...
You see what I'm saying? I think once that light bulb went off, that became a real phenomenon.
Right, and once the comfort of like that this was there, it's like, and the guys, that's awesome. It's like all of a sudden there's a whole vast swath of women who, like, yeah, we got it. They're gonna have sex with me. Okay, I don't care. You don't have to be obsessed with, like, you don't have to be like, oh, I love cougars. You just be like, oh, cougars they're willing. They'll play along.
And Anna, why women don't have the 34 to 74 phenomenon you're talking about, like. The 34-year-olds might sleep with younger guys.
But not a 74-year-old brownie. Like, she's not going to be like...
No, but that's partly because of supply and demand. Because guys will definitely have sex with 34-year-old women. 74-year-old woman.
I don't think it's
Then
supply
you're going
and
from
demand.
MILF to GILF, and that's a little questionable. You see what I'm saying? I'm keeping it real, right? So now, the interesting part of the Berlusconi story.
Okay, the interesting part of the Berlusconi story is, so he was questioned about these allegations, right? And you would think he would try to find a good way to defend himself,
Yeah, he
right?
didn't care.
Yeah, instead of defending himself, he threw himself under a bus, right? In the worst possible way. This is his quote. He said, "I love life, I love women. It's better to be passionate about a beautiful girl than a gay."
So wonderfully random.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's like, first he's like, they're like, hey, it looks like you tried to sleep with a 17-year-old, right? And you lied about it. You used your office. He's like, I love women. Right. He's like, what are you going to do about it? I mean, this guy is like our Republicans, right?
Yeah, totally.
And by the way, he's been around for like 58 years. We got rid of Bush. Berlusconi's still around in Italy. But basically, he does this, right? He opens up his jacket and he's like, what are you going to do about it? Okay? I like beautiful women. What are you going to do about it, huh? Okay? Now, and he is Italian. Okay, but then the second part is awesomely random, where he's like, at least I'm having sex with girls.
Yeah, but
Okay, better than the gays.
Yeah, how does that help your case at all?
But it's a gay, right?
A gay, right?
Well, at least I'm not a gay.
So he winds up being, adding terribly homophobic, etc., on top of all the problems he's already had.
I'm not in any way. I don't think the first part is surprising at all. That's what I would have expected.
Mm-hmm.
They don't hide from it in any way. Maybe this is too much and this is too extreme even for Italians. But there's no way he would cover it up. He'd be like, "Yep, I like her. Have you seen her?" I don't know about the gay. For a brief moment, of course, even after you'd said gay, because there's never a point where anti-Semitism isn't cool. That he was going to be like, at least I'm not a Jew.
Wait, that's
Yeah.
probably around the corner.
Yeah. I'm not a Jew, I'm not a gay.
Look, he's a character, and I enjoy these European characters. But Italy, I think we're getting to the bounds of reason.
By the way,
can we get somebody else?
Italians have uncovered a bomb sent from Greece to Berlusconi, by the way, just on a...
Oh, yeah. But, we didn't get a chance to talk about those enough. I mean, those anarchists coming out of Greece that are on the so-called left. I mean, you want to talk about a radical left, that's radical left, right? They're crazy. They're sending random bombs to all these different embassies. I don't understand their point at all. I mean, obviously, we're massively against violence. Certainly, that's terrorism. We couldn't be more against that. But, we talk about the frustration in Europe, and sometimes it's vented in positive ways through demonstrations, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's vented in negative ways. Or remember one of the examples I used, and I hate to use Greece twice as an example of this, but when they went into a bank because they were angry about the banks, and they killed a random teller, right?
Yeah.
God, that's so stupid. Some of the embassies that they sent bombs to? Bulgaria.
Right.
What did the Bulgarians do? I mean, Jesus, look, we're on the side of the Bulgarians. Why would you send a bomb to the Bulgarian embassy having anything to do with as a protest against capitalism? They sent a bomb to the Mexican embassy. What the fuck did the Mexicans do? Okay, why did you send them a bomb? Right? No, it's crazy.
But for a guy who 2 days ago was dealing with the scandal of nailing or not nailing the 18-year-old girl, it was a girl, nice timing to get sent a package bomb. Like all of a sudden he's
it lets him off the hook a little bit. Yeah,
an assassination attempt.
Yeah, and look, first of all, even if it quote-unquote was more logical targets, you still shouldn't send the bombs. Obviously, right? And by the way, it's an act of cowardice. And I don't just say that like, that's like a toss-away line that they say all the time in America, right? Here's why I think it's cowardice. Because you're too lazy and afraid to address this in a real, constructive way, through the political process, through democracy, through convincing your fellow man that they should be on your side and getting real change. Instead, you're lazy and cowardly, and you hide and you send a bomb to somebody, and and you think, oh, that's not going to solve it, and it's not going to solve it. All it does is actually it makes people more against your side, right? It makes the situation 10 times worse.
Anna, you back when Cenk and I were doing the show regularly before you got here, we always said, and I think we were clear on it, I think right from the beginning, is that everybody hates a terrorist, but a lazy terrorist is the worst.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. And by the way, just to finish up the cowardice point, look, when the French go out and get a baton over their heads from the cops, that's brave. because they're putting their life in danger, right? And they're standing up to power, and they're willing to take the hit for it, right? That's brave. Sending off an anonymous package somewhere,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see what's brave about it, let alone the laziness.
Nothing's brave.
Yeah, so
Lazy terrorists.
the worst. Okay, Anna.
All right, the dating website Badoo did a survey to find the most flirtatious women online.
Is this an American site or?
It's in the U.S., but it's popular mostly in Europe.
Okay.
Okay, and what they did is they surveyed a bunch of different countries to find, okay, which country has the most flirtatious women online. And what they used for, what they used to compare the countries is how many women will initiate contact online, how many women will initiate a date online, that kind of thing. Okay, what they found was interesting. Ranking in at number 1 is Spain.
Nice.
So if you're trying to hook up with a woman online, Spain is a place to do it.
John, I'm right there with
Right.
you.
And then all you need to do is travel 8,000 miles, and you can get a little piece of that Spanish tail.
I'll tell you what, at the age of like 19, I'd have done that in a flat second.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have, and all the money you had, you'd have borrowed money from your parents,
Oh,
you'd have raised
totally.
money, you'd have
Yeah.
sold lemonade. You know, you're getting to Spain.
Right, at the age of 34, I'd be like,
So long.
let me gamble on worse odds here.
Yeah.
See if I can walk down the street and see
Yeah.
make that happen. All right, who were the other countries?
Poland came in at number 2.
I wouldn't right now go to the trouble of like meeting a woman in Little Italy.
Let alone Italy.
Right. Forget Italy. I'm not going downtown. You know, she's got to be like at my Starbucks.
All right, let alone Poland. Well, the Polish woman representing, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 3 is Dominican Republic.
Oh, that sounds so good.
All of a sudden, it's a shorter flight.
And by the way, you know my theory is that Dominican women are more attractive on average than almost any other country. There, I said it. Okay, does that qualify as racialist? I don't know. But like almost every Dominican woman I see, I'm like, oh, geez, Lord mercy, you're beautiful, sexy, cute,
Yeah.
everything, right? So there it is. So that them, like if I was single, I find out the Dominicans are number 3. I'm all over the Dominican Republic.
By the
Me
way,
and Rush are
you
going
were
down
single
there.
for forever. You didn't.
Oh, and I hooked up with a Dominican girl.
Yeah, so did I actually.
Yeah, what happened now? See, I deliver. When I say I'm going to do something, when I say I'm going after a Dominican girl, I deliver. All right, next.
All right, coming in second to last is the United States.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, pain in our ass, man.
Victorian nonsense.
See, so that confirms for me what my experience. It's like everybody's got this image. Like my friends in Turkey. Like I literally, one of my cousins was like, "How do you not?" When I was younger and I was not getting laid as a teenager, right? He's like, "You must be the worst of the worst." And I said, "Look, I mean, you might be right about that." He's like, "But in America, they just give it to you. Everybody gives it to you." Right? Remember the story?
Right.
Right. He said he really believed that at the airport, women would like lift up their skirt and they would have no underwear, and they'd be like, "I'm ready." Okay, like that's their view of America, like that it's that easy, right? And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "No, they don't." And I was trying to convince him. I live in America. I've been to the airports. I believe me. I was looking. There was no women like this. Like,
I live in America. I have been to their airports.
it's not the case. And now we find out I was right. Of course, it's actually a pain in the ass to get laid in America.
Right. But it's a bigger pain in the ass in Ecuador. Ecuador came in last.
Right. They don't care about. You got to have money. That'll get. By the way, on speaking of flirtatious, though, on over the Halloween weekend, I had a friend who,
Here we go.
who's uses a dating website, and he told me, no, on Halloween. I do the thing. It was a time killer. It was a bummed out. It really is. Nothing is, but it's fun to see who emails you. And 2 women just started conversations. One of them on a video chat, and she was wearing a sexy cop outfit, and she just started talking to me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Did you
Handcuffs
chat
her.
roulette her?
Huh?
Did you chat roulette her?
Oh my
What's
God.
chat roulette?
Just
I
to
hope he didn't.
randomly show your penis?
No, there was no. It was a one-way video. I couldn't.
You
I didn't-
couldn't otherwise, obviously.
No, and she was like flirtatious and beautiful and totally sexy, and then and then we were gonna talk later. I tried to get her to come over,
To your Starbucks?
She pretended I would like buy her a latte. She pretended that was a possibility, and then in a shocking development, it didn't happen, and I never heard from her again.
But you know what? That gives people hope, man. We should do ads for that online site.
Totally, yeah. And then a second girl texted me. Apparently I'd given her my number. I don't recall that. But she was texting me like last night at 1 a.m. I don't even know who this is.
Yeah, look at that.
And like right when
maybe
you think,
US
my
not
God,
so
this
bad.
girl, like we're back home watching the election results, and then right before I think that maybe she'll come over, she's like, "All right, good night." Right, and I never hear from her again. But it was like it was a 2-day little. It was fun.
Small note there. My nephew, one of my nephews, was up all night talking to a girl. He told me until like 3 a.m, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then we got to a point in the conversation when I realized he wasn't on the phone. He was texting her all night long.
Oh my God.
That sounded so exhausting to me. Okay, I mean, I was like, for some reason, if you say to me, "Talk till 3 a.m," I'm like, no problem, right? Text till 3 a.m. Oh, please. I can't imagine anything more painful.
Because at some point,
oh, come on, dude, pick up the fucking phone.
Right.
You're already on the phone. Talk to her.
Yeah, you know what though? It totally like hinders communication now because people are so afraid to call someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're a dork if you call someone. Did you know that? Like for the older generation, you might not know this. Like texting is cool. If you call someone, they're like, "What are you, a weirdo? What are you, Berlusconi, a pervy wanker? Why are you on the phone with me? Why am I having human contact with you?"
And all sort of humor, all subtlety is lost. All timing is lost.
Right.
You know, and then inevitably, you know, they'll ask you, you know, like, "Oh, what are you doing?" You're like, "Fucking typing. That's what I'm doing."
With my little thumbs.
With my little thumbs, I'm typing. I can't do anything.
Okay. Another random note here. On the way in here, I saw this Asian woman with Sarsgaard.
With
Okay.
the Peter Sarsgaard.
Yeah, they're one of those, you know, those masks and stuff. And
Have you ever seen a non-Asian with a Sarsgaard?
Well, that's actually where I'm going here.
All
Right. And I don't. I'm not being a racialist. My wife is Asian. My son is Asian. Okay, we all got this, right? But you know me, I don't mind picking on cultures though. So it's not like it's intrinsic to Chinese or something like this crazy or Japanese. No, but there are cultural phenomenons, and there are upsides and downsides to the different cultures, American, et cetera, right? This timidity, I think, that is symbolized by those masks in some of the Asian cultures. I don't like it, okay? And
Don't care for it.
yeah, and people might say, well, too bad for you, right? Who cares what you like or don't like? And that's fair, right? But I just go out in the world, man. Go out in the world. I mean, somebody's wearing a mask now. There's no SARS scare now. There's no scare at all now. I mean, the only reason why you should be wearing a mask like that in public is if you have the bubonic plague and you don't want to give it to other people,
Yeah, it's
right?
like-
In which case, you should be in a frickin' bubble anyway.
Right.
Like, go out and tackle the world. Yeah, there are germs in the world. There are. And you're going to get some of them. And sometimes you're going to get sick.
It's
okay?
like
it's okay. Go out and tackle the world instead of being like, oh my God, oh my God. No, it's not for me, man. It's for other
You
people.
spit on your own face.
Did I?
Yeah, you
I'm not
gotta-
surprised. Sometimes you'll spit on your own face. Okay, it's okay.
As with the baseball hat, you only wear it backwards if you're catching or painting. The Peter Sarsgaard, you wear if you have the bubonic plague or you're a surgeon.
Right.
Otherwise, let's go. Get about your business.
Let's go.
You know, I get my toes are gross. As you know, my feet are just disgusting.
Like, you know how Harold Ford did that excuse? He used to get pedicures and he said, oh, I have a toe condition, right?
Yeah.
Nobody believes that. If Ben says he got a pedicure, it's because he's got a toe
I
condition.
mean, I've cut my nails yesterday. My whole feet aren't gross. It's just the toes. The back half of the foot is beautiful. It's breathtaking.
Nobody's got a better back half of the foot than Ben
Totally,
Mankiewicz.
yeah, it's just really the front third of my foot that's vile. And so I get the pedicures. You know, like once a month. I mean, I clip them in between, but then I gotta get them as good looking as they can be. And you go in and get the pedicure. They're all Asian, pretty much. And like of the 6 girls there, 3 of them They had the mask. It's such a downer to get a pedicure from somebody in a SARS guard.
Right, I hear you. The flip side to that is that's actually slightly justifiable because breathing in the fumes from that stuff is a little dangerous. That's why they do that. That I can live with more.
But then why do the half of them don't? You don't wear the mask. Breathe in the fumes.
The fumes are good for you.
Yeah, just breathe. Suck in the fumes. Feel them.
Feel alive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you just want to crack open the isopropyl alcohol and. Ooh. That's horrific.
Comes in the next segment with a mask.
Yeah.
Okay. And then finally, I don't know how I'm connecting these in my mind, but time for a cute schmoopy story. We don't have to run no graphic on it. My son, who I alluded to earlier, turns out to be a talker. Okay, you know, I talk a lot. Okay, as you know. Wendy talks a lot. Actually, at dinner, Wendy will out-talk me. She's about 60-40, okay?
Really?
So you get a sense of which direction Pro might
Takes
go.
advantage of when there's food in your mouth to get a freaking word in.
So now he started talking. Not talking as in like, hey, Mom, right? Of course, he's like not even 4 months yet, so he's not making words. But he wakes up in the morning, and he's not crying. He's just like, I'm happy my son's a talker. But that's the reason. It's 6:30 in the morning. He's like, he's just talking to himself.
That's good. Maybe he's imitating you. Yeah.
All right. Give us one more story.
Oh, this story is especially for you because you're an egg eater.
Oh, I know.
Do you not eat eggs?
I love eggs, but in moderation. Like, I'll have eggs maybe once a week.
Yeah, I like when I
Once a week. Wow.
when I play when we watch football on Sundays or Saturdays when I'm home, I like to, because my dad used to do it. I like get the mashed potatoes and some sausage, and you dump a couple of fried eggs on top of the mashed potatoes. I love that meal.
That
Love
sounds
it.
delicious.
Oh, it's fantastic. I'll make it for you some morning.
I think I average. I think I average 2.5 eggs a day. So I'm in a lot of trouble.
You are in a lot of trouble. And
That's
I'll tell you
crazy.
why. Canadian researchers found that having one egg yolk, is more dangerous for people with high cholesterol than eating a Double Down from KFC.
Really?
Now, the Double Down, for those who
Oh
don't
my
know.
God! I can't even look at the ad.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
2 fried chicken
I had
breasts.
one. It was pretty good.
Bacon in the middle, cheese in the middle, and their special sauce, which is probably Thousand Island.
It's just too. How do you not have grease all over your hands afterwards?
Yeah, it's disgusting. But people
I
say
had
it's
one.
delicious.
It was good. Yeah, and look, I think KFC's way too greasy. So don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of KFC. But that sandwich was pretty good. But obviously, it's way too much. And has there ever, side note here, has there ever been a special sauce that wasn't simply Thousand Island dressing?
Yeah,
Ever?
no.
Whenever you see special sauce, it just means Thousand Island dressing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, all right. And so, but the cholesterol. Now, the thing that article didn't talk about, and I'm shocked by that, just so one egg yolk
Right.
is the equivalent, or no, more than
More than.
the Double Down.
Yes. So one egg yolk, depending on its size, will have between 215 to 275 milligrams of cholesterol. A person with high cholesterol should not eat more than 200 milligrams of cholesterol per day. So if you eat one egg yolk, you're already doing bad. You're already at least 50 milligrams
I
over.
put 3 fried eggs on those potatoes. Like, so I should be like aware that like the day before and the day after.
Yeah, just calm down
Right,
the day
calm
before and the day
down.
after. But also, it really depends on what your health condition is. If you have high cholesterol, that's why you have to limit yourself.
I don't have high cholesterol. I have higher than it should be, like barely though.
Yeah, I have insanely high cholesterol, and after reading that article, I figured out why. Now I'm taking medicine for it.
How do you eat the eggs? Fried, generally?
Oh, everything sunny side up, fried omelets, you name
You know,
it.
because if you do the omelet and you do the egg white omelet, which obviously eliminates the yolk, and it pretty much, when mixed with everything else,
It tastes the same.
It
Yeah.
tastes the same.
It really
I mean, you
does.
can't have an egg white as a fried egg because the yolk is that's where the money is.
Right, that's the
Yeah.
best part. But look, we end on a note of liberalism. It turns out I'm a lib. I'm open to facts. After I read that article, I thought it might be worse for my waistline actually, but I'm gonna eat more bagels in the morning. Like
Yeah.
I'm eating far too many eggs. And now and then people will argue, no, there's good cholesterol in eggs too. I'm sure that's true, and all of this will get rehashed 3 different times, but bounds of reason on the cholesterol I'm getting from the eggs.
They're down with it. There's no rehashing that story. Like they, by the way, corned beef hash and eggs, delicious.
Had it this morning.
Yeah, it's I mean,
Literally.
It's fantastic. So
Yeah, I can tell you where to get a good one.
All right, before we end, though, I got to let you guys know, when it comes to the Double Down sandwich, that only has, surprisingly, 150 milligrams of cholesterol, according to these researchers.
Jesus.
All right.
By the
But
way,
of course, it has other downsides. You know,
Right,
you know.
saturated fat.
Yeah,
and-
right.
I'm
So
starving.
don't think it's healthy.
I'm starving right now. That looked, for the first time, that looked fantastic.
The Double Down?
Yeah, I mean, I want to go
See?
get one right now.
Plus, it's got special sauce.
Oh, please.
All right, we're done for today. So everybody remember, of course, like I said, tomorrow at MSNBC, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll be on. And then we're doing the Young Turks, Ben and I are tomorrow at 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on theyoungturks.com. So we'll see you then. Young Turks.
Give me that mo wet, give me that crystal stab. Ladies love